Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're all doing well and keeping safe wherever you're watching this today. Going to be talking today a bit more about the Brighton win last night, some things I picked out, and also Ruben Loftus-Cheek, criticism of him and Kepa Arrizabalaga, also Lampard versus Klopp. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also hit the like button if you're enjoying the content because it helps out the channel as well. So last night's win, my rational perspective review of the game is on the channel now, so please go and watch that, link in the cards above. It was underwhelming, wasn't it? I think the performance definitely was, and I think the fact that so many people were so excited for this game for Chelsea. I think there were some people expecting it was going to be almost 14-15-esque opening game, if you remember that, against Burnley. That was a Monday night game at Turf Moor. Diego Costa and Cesc Fabregas lighting up Turf Moor that night, and it very much felt like the start of a new era there, and you felt like that team was going to be really special that season. Of course, going on to win the Premier League. Very different factors this time. The fact that Chelsea did not have any pre-season. I mean, I think that was a big thing for me as the game unfolded last night, where you looked at a bunch of players. Some of them had been away on international duty. Some of them didn't feature in the only pre-season game we had against Brighton a fortnight ago. And also the amount of players still out. I mean, when you look at it, no Christian Pulisic, who I think is going to be such an essential player for us this season, a star player for us. No Hakim Ziyech or Thiago Silva, so the new signings. Ben Chilwell as well, not ready for the game. Edouard Mendy, Mateo Kovacic not in that team. So there was a lot of players still out. So to sort of base your judgment for this season on last night's starting 11, I think is a little bit unfair, to be honest. It's a long season. There are so many players to be involved, to be included in the coming weeks, I'm sure, for Frank Lampard. To add that fluidity that we lacked last night, I think is a key thing looking forward. I think we did lack rhythm. We lacked flow and sharpness. Positive for me overall when I look at the game is the fact that we had 48% possession in the game and Chelsea won, and a game that was turning against Chelsea in momentum. And to be honest, turning against Chelsea is probably not the right word for it, to be honest, because it felt pretty similar throughout a majority of that game where Brighton had a lot of the ball. But just looking at last season, if we didn't have a lot of the ball and we weren't in control of the game, it was very rare that Chelsea came away with a positive result. I mean, we've gained 2 points based on last season's results, of course, losing 2 points at Brighton last season, a 1-1 draw. So I felt, in retrospect, it's a positive. We won the game. I mean, the fact that Chelsea not having to make a lot of chances in the game and win 3-1, I think is a positive thing. And I think mentality-wise, hopefully it will help the squad moving forward to next week against Liverpool. It's a win. It's 3 points on the board. The first game of the season, sometimes it's very fluid. Sometimes it can be very exciting. Other times it's just about getting those points on the board and getting a decent start to the season, which is a positive. So I want to pick up certain things. I mean, obviously, Kepa Arrizabalaga was a massive point of debate last night, not only before the game of him starting the game, but of course Brighton's equaliser, which he should have saved. I said that in my review last night, and of course he got more and more criticism. I don't think it's, that much of a hot take, and I don't think it's that much of a revelation. Maybe as much as Sky Sports want to make it a revelation, of course we knew this before the game. We knew the problems with Kepa. The only hope was with maybe Edouard Mendy waiting in the wings and Kepa getting another chance. You'd hope maybe some sort of confidence would come back into his game, but that just proved it once again there. I mean, it wasn't only the goal itself, which was a mistake, a big blunder by Kepa once again. He should have been saving that. He should have been getting a hand to that at least, but, saving it, of course. But also, just in that first half, a corner comes in. And I actually felt defensively, I don't know if you guys agree with me, I think when you look at the team defensively, I don't think it was a bad performance. I actually think it was a pretty good performance that probably deserved a clean sheet, to be honest. I mean, other than the Lewis Dunk chance in that second half, Chelsea, I think, in terms of structure, I don't think it was the worst I've seen in terms of last season, the amount of chances we were giving away. I know you could argue, of course, it was Brighton, but I felt individually Reece James, Kurt Zouma and Andreas Christensen had really strong games. I think they did, and I think Christensen and Kurt Zouma deserve a lot of credit. I think the problem was fluidity in midfield, the fact we got overrun in midfield, which was a problem last season with Jorginho in there as well, and also Marcos Alonso getting run at consistently by Tariq Lamptey. I really hope that when Ben Chilwell comes into this team, that won't happen as much, because I think Ben Chilwell having that natural acceleration and stop players like Lamptey going at our fullback a bit more. But I think the thing is with Kepa, there was some reaction to what Lampard had to say after the game. And, what do people expect Frank to say about one of his players? Do you really expect him to come out after a performance like that and just go, Kepa's useless, I'm never playing him again? Of course, that'd be absolutely stupid, wrong. It would hurt the squad harmony. It would hurt the player in the long term. A coach is never going to do that. A coach has to back his players, especially in a situation situation like this where Chelsea, I'm sure, are hoping maybe down the line they can get something for Kepa if a club comes in for him in the future. Maybe his form improves over the season. Just on Edouard Mendy, the update about that signing, Adam Leventhal from The Athletic said this here, as you can see from this tweet. Told deal for keeper Edouard Mendy to move to Stamford Bridge is almost done. From source at Rennes, understand fee is 20 million euros plus 5 million euro add-ons. And another thing that Liam Toomey, also from The Athletic, tweeted last night was Sky doing a comparison between Edouard Mendy and Kepa Arrizabalaga on league stats, and them using XG on target face and XG against differential to compare the two goalkeepers. And of course, Edouard Mendy comes out on top there. I really hope this deal gets done and announced very soon. I think it's just good for the club to be able to say, yeah, we've improved in this area. We know the deal is basically done at this point. You know, we know Edouard Mendy is going to become a Chelsea player very soon. It's just about getting that announced and then him getting into the first team and hopefully impressing from there, because it's just certainty and it's just saving basic shots. I mean, I know it sounds stupid of a fan to me just to say, you know, it's easy, I should have saved that. You know, of course I wouldn't have saved that. I'm not a professional goalkeeper, but at the same time, we've seen it so many times with Kepa now where a top goalkeeper at a top club like Chelsea, I mean, it's not even being at a top club. I mean, I think a lot of keepers, mid-table clubs would have saved that. And that's so detrimental to Kepa. But that's the truth. That's the stats of last season. Horrendously bad stats for a goalkeeper like Kepa. And even if I want to support the guy, even if I do want to see him do well at Chelsea and recover form and confidence, because I think it's good for him and it'll be good for the club, you just can't be letting goals like that in, and it hurt what was a pretty decent defensive display, and luckily Chelsea got away with it last night, but you aren't going to get away with it against Liverpool. You just aren't, you know, in terms of the quality of the side. And other days, Reece James isn't going to pop up with a worldly goal. That's the thing that needs to be rectified over the season. You know, I think that was the thing that Petr Cech and Courtois were so good at over the years, is saving us, you know, having that one moment in a game where maybe you're dominating a game and you have to make a save. That's what being a top goalkeeper is, and unfortunately Kepa just consistently isn't showing that enough for me. So please let me know your opinions on Kepa, his future, and Mendy signing in the comments below. Also, I want to touch on Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Criticism last night. I criticised him. I thought his performance was quite poor in that first half. It was disappointing from Ruben. It really was, considering I thought it was a really good chance and opportunity to stake a claim to being a first-team player this season. He had a real good opportunity last night because of maybe injuries to other players, suspension. He got the chance, did not take it, and I think he gave the ball away so many times. I mean, that's the disappointing thing for me, because I thought that one of the things Ruben really improved in his game, other than the obvious things like bursting with pace and acceleration through the centre of the pitch, creating opportunities, scoring goals, was his ability to shield the ball and make wise decisions in possession. Unfortunately, we just did not see that. He lost the ball so many times, very sloppily as well, not under a lot of pressure as well, unforced errors, which isn't good enough for a player at Chelsea. But I have to say that Jamie Carragher's criticism in the Sky studio after was really harsh. They went after him basically saying that, you know, he can't be disappointed if Chelsea sell him on. Is he just staying there because he's getting paid a lot? I felt that was really out of order, and I felt also it was really disingenuous and just really poor that they did not mention and bring up in this discussion post-game his 13-month absence due to a career-threatening injury, which was the Achilles injury he suffered at the back end of 18-19 at Boston friendly, which feels worse and worse every day. I wrote a long piece on Ruben and how horrible that was, and how sort of stupid for me that friendly was in terms of the timing of it, you know, especially between the end of a season and a Europa League final. It just did not make any sense, in truth, the scheduling and the pitch, the quality of the pitch, and of course that led to Ruben's injury. And at the time, Ruben was flying for Chelsea. He really was. He was coming into his own under Maurizio Sarri, and you really felt, okay, this is Ruben's time now, really asserting himself as Chelsea's best player. And unfortunately, that injury ruled him out of basically all of 1920. Of course, came back at the end after Project Restart, but barely got any minutes, to be honest, and that was about just getting some fitness back. But I think the difficulty for Ruben, in an objective sense, is the amount of players Frank Lampard has to choose from this season. And if Frank goes for a 4-2-3-1, say, and Kai Havertz really flourishes, and all the players Frank can choose in those areas, it's going to be difficult for Ruben. It really is. I think the thing that could help Ruben is the amount of games Chelsea will have. I think Ruben will play a substantial amount of minutes. It's just about him staying fit and impressing when he does get that opportunity. I think it's, to be fair, based on, you know, the injury, but also for me, positioning. I don't like Ruben that high up the pitch. He's not a number 10. If he was playing as a number 10 last night, I mean, there were times in that first half, because for me, me, just Chelsea not getting into a rhythm at all. It was very hard to identify what Chelsea were actually trying to do on the pitch, personally for me, until Ross Barkley came on and it looked like we had some sort of more coherent shape moving forward in one. But I felt that Ruben, he has to be much more deeper for me. If you're playing him, he can't be out wide. He can't be as a number 10. He has to be, for me, one of a midfield three, say, the left of a midfield three. He has to be running from deep. That's where he's most effective, being able to get the ball from, say, the halfway line and driving forward. He had opportunities to do that last night, especially there was a time where he could have laid in Timo Werner, had to play that ball, and if he did, I think it would have been 2-0 and Timo Werner would have got his first goal. That's where Ruben can be so effective, but I feel when playing him that close to the striker, I just don't think that's his best game. I think he's very good from deeper areas of getting the ball from a standing position and driving forward with it and really creating opportunities and committing defenders to make fouls. So hopefully Ruben can bounce back. I thought the criticism was harsh. I think it is, objectively last night, I think he just had a really poor game. And I think himself as a professional will be disappointed, and he should be. But on top of that, I think it's fair to bring up the injury problems, which could have been a career-threatening injury. He was out for 13 months. He didn't have a pre-season. I mean, none of these players really have, and that probably could have halted him as well. But let me know your opinions on Ruben. Do you think he's got a big future at Chelsea? Do you think he'll be loaned out? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And lastly, I want to talk about Jurgen Klopp versus Frank Lampard. Wanted to discuss this subject on the channel. Didn't get the time to because, of course, preview content for Brighton and other news coming through like Edouard Mendy and N'Golo Kante and Giroud. So it all started with Jurgen Klopp last week before the season kicked off. I think it was a BBC interview where he talked about the season and talked about, the problems with Liverpool spending money and not being able to spend as much. So here's what he had to say. We live in a world at the moment with a lot of uncertainty. For some clubs, it seems to be less important how uncertain the future is. Owned by countries, owned by oligarchs. That's the truth. We're a different kind of club. Then Frank Lampard shot back basically and responded with his pre-match interview with Brighton saying this: I found it slightly amusing when you talk about the owners of clubs. I don't think it matters what line of business they come from. We are talking about some very rich owners in the Premier League. With Liverpool's story, I referenced it a lot last year. They've managed to get recruitment right to a really high level. The reality is, other than maybe Leicester, most clubs that win the league in the modern day have recruited at quite a high level money-wise. You can go through the Liverpool players: Van Dijk, Alisson, Fabinho, Keita, Mane, Salah. Incredible players that came at a very high price. Liverpool have done it over a period of time. What we have done is come off the back of a ban and try to address the situation ourselves. It's par for the course. There's no point in doing the maths. We know that Liverpool have spent at a high level. We know they have an incredible coach. We know they have incredible players. The really smart thing Liverpool have done is believe in their coach and the system for a number of years. It's a great story, but it's a story where they've spent money. This summer we've spent money, and now the hard work has to come. So I think Frank is absolutely spot on there. No surprise, of course, I'm going to say that. But I do think he's absolutely spot on with what he says. Very objective, very fair, really, in terms of what he's saying. He's crediting Jurgen Klopp. He's crediting the brilliant work Liverpool have done. And I'll admit that myself, as a Chelsea fan who doesn't like Liverpool. I'll say I think there is a lot to commend about what they've done. And there's a lot of inspiration to take from what they've done over a number of years. Believing in a system, believing in recruitment, believing in one coach's vision, and believing even through the hard times of the first few years when they weren't getting success, maybe faltering at finals or, not getting into the top four and maybe not quite being there in terms of a title race and still having flaws within their squad, believing they are going in the right direction. Those are principles I want to see Chelsea instill now under Frank Lampard and under successive coaches as well. But for me, the quote from Klopp was just confusing. It really was. I just don't know why he had to make that quote before the season. Was it getting an excuse in early? Maybe he was afraid by the fact that they hadn't made recruitment and was a little bit concerned himself about the season. We're a different kind of club. It's just a really low type of comment. I think Klopp is above it as a person, as a coach, to be honest, who I'm really impressed by. But I don't think he had to make that comment. And it strikes of hypocrisy. It really does, because as Frank points out, as everyone pointed out when he made that comment, 75 million on Virgil van Dijk, 66 million on Alisson. That, before Kepa was signed, was the highest record fee for a goalkeeper. 43 million on Fabinho, 35 million on Salah. Naby Keita as well, I believe, was 40 million at the time as well. Let's not pretend Klopp's side wasn't majorly improved by significant investment. They invested very well and improved their squad over a number of years. But this mythical concept that seems to permeate Klopp is this rookie underdog who performed miracles without the club going out and investing investing on top players is laughable, in my opinion. It really is. When Liverpool seem to spend over 100 million, it isn't really real money, is it, compared to other clubs? Compared to Chelsea, there's so much made of us spending money. But when Liverpool do it, it isn't really money, is it? And there seems to be this belief that all the players Klopp has, he's sort of developed himself from the academy. I mean, it's just laughable. It really is. And I think there are some Liverpool fans who I've seen comment on this who are fair and objective about it, saying, Chelsea have done the same as us in terms of net spend. Net spend is a big thing I've seen in sort of retorts to Chelsea fans being frustrated by Klopp's comments or sort of responding to Klopp's comments. And Amazon Prime Video Sport, for some reason, tweeting this. Net spend from the 5 seasons preceding this summer transfer window, Liverpool are above Chelsea. And Chelsea have used net spend very well. The sales of Hazard and Morata have been widely stated as big contributors to Chelsea's finances to spend this summer. Let's not be hypocrites here. I'm not saying spending money is a bad thing and investing in your squad properly is a negative thing, but I think it's really hypocritical of Jurgen Klopp to come out and claim he has not spent money himself. And, in terms of net spend, I think that argument falls when I've just brought out that stat as well. Liverpool do have rich owners. They want to spend big. They want to be a massive club. They see themselves as one of the biggest clubs in England, which they are. I think it's a bit hypocritical to claim yourself as one of the biggest clubs in England, being the champions of England, one of the most elite clubs in European football, but at the same time claim you're some sort of rookie underdog. You can't have that sort of same profile to me. I think it comes off as entitlement, and I think it comes off as hypocrisy. Of course, obviously, if you're a Liverpool fan watching this, I know you'll very much disagree with me. If you do disagree with me and you're watching, please let me know in the comments below, respectfully, of course. But I think that's my opinion on it. I just don't think it's very wise. I don't think it comes off that well for Klopp. I don't think it speaks very well of Klopp. I think he's a very impressive character and very, very good coach, one of the top coaches in European football, in world football at the moment. Those are my opinions on it. Let me know yours in the comments below. I'm sure it's going to heat up this rivalry. Of course, we had the incident back in, July, when we played them on the touchline. I'm sure that will be ramped up by the media before we go into Sunday's game. I think both managers, from what I've heard, have admiration for each other, and I think they should. And I think that the fact is that, Lampard very much has talked about respecting Klopp, respecting Liverpool's vision. Matt Law in the London is Blue Pod spoke about Lampard really looking at Liverpool for inspiration, and in terms of the way they've gone about their business very well in recent seasons. So I found it a bit strange. Just wanted to throw my opinions into the hat on this. Please let me know yours in the comments below. But that is it for this edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonOfChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.